Hello, welcome into the LCS Challengers League. It is week 6 here on the board. We have gotten through quite some time in our regular season. I'm Mad Magical, joined alongside the one and only LPL catcher himself. It is Mazel as well. We have the lovely, ever so confident Beatdown. Good to have you both on the broadcast.
Glad to be with Beatdown again. I'm excited to get some good games under about. Every time we come together, we get bangers. So let's see what happens.
True. I just want to say I'm impressed that somehow Lennon is the only LPL caster. It just implies that he runs the broadcast in like every capacity.
Not true.
I mean, that's what he said. You know, I'm just going off that. Like, how
I'm
do you
just gonna
do
go
it?
ahead and say that's not true.
He's just everywhere. He's
False.
all over the place at every single time. That's how it is. He's a very smart guy.
Got you.
But like I said, it is week 6 here for the Challengers League broadcast. That means we've had quite a lot of gameplay already taking place. And we're getting close to playoffs now. The derby is going through. We're seeing these teams as they charge. They're all going to make it to playoffs. However, they're all fighting for seeding. So just initial thoughts. Let's start with you, Beatdown. Going into this week, what are the teams that are really standing out to you at the moment?
I mean, just some of the top teams we have on the board. If we talk about Challengers teams, there's ones like Cloud9, 100 Thieves, Dignitas, and of course, we actually have our 2 top provisional teams matching up today. And those are also teams that we should be keeping an eye on as well, because 1, they're going to seed well going into playoffs because they've been placing and playing so well. And 2, they are both teams that could go very deep.
What about you, Lennon? What do you got?
Man, I'm just excited for a lot of the matchups we have today. But across both streams, I think we have some really, really good games. And when we're coming down to 2 weeks left in the regular season and seeding matters so much, it truly is a race.
Yes, and for everyone out there, just to make sure they know, like I said, every single team will make it into playoffs, but the seeding is very important, especially for these provisional teams. We'll have Fear versus Wildcard as our second series of the day. We'll talk about that a little bit later down the road, but let's kind of briefly talk about why this is so important for a lot of these provisional teams and what it means for them going into playoffs and having these better seedings, Lennon.
Well, I mean, you have to look at, obviously, the relegation tournament that will be coming up. And I think, obviously, we have 2 front runners in Wildcard and Fear. So you're looking at the back half of the provisional teams to kind of pick it up a little bit in the last half. And especially when we have some of the big, I guess, contended matchups when you have a lot of the provisional teams versus provisional teams coming up in the next 2 weeks.
All right, but we also did have a lot of fun. We did a little video for the LCS that we were able to show everyone that kind of summed up a little bit of what's been going on here on the NACL. But I think everyone else here should also get a chance to gander at what we put together. So let's take a listen.
I wonder what's on TV.
Their carries, like you're saying, aren't.
I was wondering when we saw the.
Hello, welcome into the LCS Challengers League. I'm Magical, joined in by the bald one himself.
Breaking news, it's green time. Despite the woes of their LCS counterparts, Dignitas Challengers is good. Led by veterans Insanity and Diamond, and seeing a return to form from Tomo, young players Exu and Hoon have taken the Rift by storm. Speaking of storms, Cloud9 have tied them at first. For more on that, let's go to Mazel with the weather.
It's raining cats and dogs!
Mazel, I can't hear you. How are Lost and Zazel doing?
Thunder and lightning! Thunder and lightning!
What's going on?
It's over, Rizzler. You have nowhere else to go.
Gamers, one last time.
Are you tired of your League of Legends games ending in 30 minutes with a Baron fight into a mid lane push? Well, get on down to NACL Real Backdoors! It's backdoors galore. Get yours before the storage floor has no more. Boom! 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 Sign up with the hashtag NACL on Twitter.com for 10 minutes off your next Real Backdoor order. If you want some more Real Backdoor action, make sure you go to twitch.tv/Challengers League, twitch.tv/PathToLCS, twitter.com/PathToLCS, youtube.com/PathToLCS. Wait, we don't have that one.
Yep.
Hello and welcome to Moose Haters Garen International Travel Agency. Do you want to play Garen? All you need to take is Ghost, Phase Rush, and a second item Zeal, and you can play Garen wherever you want around the world.
Previously.
Oh, hey, Cubby.
Oh, hey, Rafa. You were in another meeting today.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Listen, I was busy with LCS because I'm a full-time caster. But how was your Academy story meeting?
Rafa, you know it's called Challengers League? Or at least you would know if you were there. Oh, come on. Besides, we added 6 more teams and have way more fun games, so you're missing out.
The most valuable prospects already got promoted.
Yeah, that's the point of the league. Promote the good players.
You mean like me?
Okay, you know what? Casting with flowers was better.
Teams should quake.
Call the Rizzler today.
What if there was nowhere to hide?
Oh,
I know this
sorry,
guy.
SkyTech. You're not getting away from this one.
What if there was nowhere to run?
For this side. Blaze is like, I can deal with them. I'm fine. I'm okay.
What if there was no will to fight?
Come on, guys. We could beat them if we work together.
As the rest of C9 is on Baron, and now he's going to be solo killing again.
He's trying to get the best Hoon impression
get
here.
around it.
MNS2 Nightmare on LCS.
Don't miss On the Range featuring Mazel weeknights at 11.
There's nothing on. I'm just gonna play some League.
Oh boy, here I go killing again.
Wow.
Had to steal that one from you, Beatdown. You said that right before
It's
we
yours.
got back to live. But I like that video. That was a lot of fun to do. I mean, obviously inspiration, you know, the interdimensional cable, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad we got to show everything that was happening in the league. And speaking of showing everything that's been happening so far, let's take a look at the standings that we have at the moment going into week 6, because like we said, only these last 2 weeks, this week and next week, before we have playoffs. And Dignitas Challengers no longer the only one at the top of the standings. Cloud9 Challengers challenging them for the #1 spot.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that Dignitas are no longer just in that sole position, but also when you're seeing, we had already kind of foreshadowed it, Wildcard and Fear up there in the top 5. It's actually incredible.
I think the other thing too is that Cloud9 climbing up to the top the way they did is really great. It's interesting too looking at these top 3 teams, because Dignitas was ahead by a couple of games consistently these last couple of weeks, but the big difference maker there was the fact that they split the series with Wildcard just last week, despite a lot of people insisting that Dignitas was going to 2-0. So Wildcard, they surprised us again.
Wildcard continued to surprise everyone, right? This is why we're really excited about this team. I think Fear are another team that consistently surprised us, though we did have more of a expected result when they faced off against Dignitas Challengers. And so when we look at the standings, look at how these teams are going to shake out, that's going to be something we'll have to watch out for later today, is Wildcard versus Fear, because when we take a look at the matches we have for today, that will be our second matchup of the day. But the first one we start off with, Evil Geniuses Challengers and Team Liquid Challengers. Should be a very exciting 2 teams kind of in the middle of the standings, not exactly where we expected either of them to be. And then we round off the day with Fly Fam versus Golden Guardians Challengers.
I think we got to give a lot of grace to Evil Geniuses in particular. We knew what the roster they were expecting was going to be, and we knew that that's not the roster they had for quite a while. I mean, even to this point, they still have Mobility, who is at this point seeming like he's going to be here until the end of the split. At the point, and like to his credit, he's been playing quite well. And I think now that Ryoma has joined and they've been playing together these last couple of weeks, Evil Geniuses are on the rise, and they are starting to look really good as a roster.
In fact, when we get to take a look, like I said, at the matchup today, we started off with Evil Geniuses Challengers versus Team Liquid Challengers. I'm glad you kind of talked about Evil Geniuses Challengers, because this roster as a whole is a team that we were really excited about. We said that they look really strong. Everyone's always talked about Shaden and how he is as a jungler, how he's someone that you have to keep your eyes on. He's going to be someone who completely owns his pathing and make sure that everyone has to play around him by either his team or his opponents. But then Team Liquid Challengers are another team that we expected great things from. But right now, they're still right in about the middle as well. They're not necessarily the hot team that looks like they just won back-to-back titles last year.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, if I was a salesman, it'd be real easy to sell EGC, especially with the, you know, prospect that we came in and didn't look as promising, and now you got a beautiful shining car on the other side for TLC. It looked good on the outside. The inside's not so much, and that's where we're really looking for a late season pickup for them. Obviously, there's a lot of veterancy in the structure behind TLC, and as well as keeping, you know, Bradley as a veteran member in the top side of the map. But I think it is going to be interesting to see them kind of come into their own in the later half.
But there is veterancy on Evil Geniuses Challengers as well. When we look at the roster, you know, Smoothie, a good shot caller for the team. There's a reason why he remained on. Players wanted to play with them because he has that ability to really dictate where you need to be on the map. Ryoma, another one of these players mid lane that we've seen play in Academy for quite some time, even having a bit of a stint in the LCS. And since he has been a part of this Evil Geniuses Challengers roster, since he's gotten his visa fixed out, he has looked like one of the most powerful players on the team, even with Shaden being on the roster.
I think we got to give a lot of credit. This is what we expected and what we were hyping up before Ryoma got here, because he's that player who has had experience at this level. I think in the past playing for Golden Guardians, and though he wasn't able to really play things out last summer because of some unlucky circumstances, we'll say, he's still a player we have a lot of high hopes for and has shown us that he can play those multiple styles, whether it is a more defensive, supportive role for a player like Shaden or that kind of carry role where we see him pop off on things like Ryze, Azir, and these high damage late game scaling champions.
But on the other side, he's got to face off against Team Liquid Honda Challengers APA, a player that I know a lot of us love to talk about. He's got a very fun champion pool, the Ziggs. I'm still waiting for that Aurelion Soul, even though, you know, the reworked Aurelion Soul might not necessarily lean into that as much, but he's just a fun player to talk about because of his champion Ocean.
Yeah, I think APA has always been really fun. Also, when we get to see him pull off things that are so crazy, when they had the backdoor with the Ziggs, and you get to see some of those execution moments for him. But I think as a whole, I mean, you obviously are looking at this top side of the map, Bradley and Mir, to be a crucial sticking point for Team Liquid Honda Challengers.
Just because Bradley being the one remaining member from the back-to-back winning victorious Team Liquid Challengers Academy last year. And now we look to this year, even though Bradley is the player that has remained consistent, we're looking at Mir. Mir versus Shaden. These two players in the jungle are incredibly important to how these two teams have found their successes. So Pete, kind of walk us through why we have these two players as our focus.
Because both impact their teams a lot in slightly different, but generally the same kind of ways. You look at Shaden, and it shows in the statistics. He was the player they were playing to these last couple of weeks, guys, and he is the player who we hyped up a lot. I remember someone made the Shaden and the sous chefs meme. I think it was Deserex, and that one ended up being really apt. Only this last week or two did we see Shaden play those more facilitating style junglers, and he's also looked good on those as well, which is promising. And for Mir, on the other side here, previously known as Arthur, a player right off the bat watching his play, we were excited about him because of his mechanical prowess and how good he's been so far these first couple of weeks. He supports his team very well. He is a big facilitator for Team Liquid Challengers, especially towards the bot lane of Arrow and Kim down, and that's why you might not see the stats really. That's why you might see Shaden have leg up in terms of these stats.
And that's where I do wonder who, and maybe in different ways, but who carries kind of harder in this situation, right? Shaden, they have had that little bit of a downtrend, right? I think we have seen, obviously, some big pop-off games. There's that track record of like 5 games where he had like 2 deaths and whatever, 30 kills. Yeah, it was like insane. That. And I want to get back to that for Shaden, right? And I think that cohesion with Soul to deal with Bradley and how the rest of the map is going to play out for Mir is super important.
And going up against Mir, I think, is the important thing, right? We've got to take a look at some of the clips from these players, and let's take a look at Mir first and how TLC tend to play, using him as kind of like a carry, but also someone who does help out the rest of the team.
The big thing about it is that, yeah, he can be that kind of carry, but not the flashy kind. Like, a lot of these clips that we have here are him playing these champions, like the Sejuani, like the Maokai, and things like that, because that's where he ends up performing best on this team, because you enable your laners to succeed in that laning phase, and getting control of that early game is how Team Liquid Challengers as a whole will try to lead and turn those into wins.
Yeah, Lennon, you go.
Yeah, I think the interesting point is that the draft will determine a lot of what we see from the jungle matchup. And obviously, I expect a lot of aggression in terms of the drafting to come out from both sides in terms of trying to take away Shaden's picks, but maybe Shaden trying to prioritize that early on in the draft as well.
Yeah, and this is funny when I look at how maybe EGC can start playing around certain different styles. Shaden, whenever he plays Poppy, is something that comes up to my mind as more of a facilitator, yes, but it's something that he plays very aggressively and sets up his lanes really well. I know that's just something that popped up my mind now. It's not necessarily something we'll exactly see, but Lennon, kind of lead us through more of what you think about Shaden, how he can be this proactive player.
Well, I mean, we've seen it. I think we have a track record of his KDAs. Again, there has been some struggling recently, but it's setups about early game and getting resources to teams sometimes, to the rest of the team sometimes, where you see him on these facilitation picks like the Sejuani, getting early resources for Ryoma, but you also see those moments where he's playing the Viego, he's playing the Kindreds, he is able to fully carry, and then he goes like 11-1 or whatever on Graves, multiple games in his season so far, and you just see these really mechanically executed fights in the later part when he gets these resources.
Do you agree with that one, Beatdown? Like, I mean, his Graves is something that everyone's always feared for a long time. His carry potential has always been insane. But really, right now, that isn't what the meta has been, even if Elise has kind of come into the meta. It's been the Sejuanis, the Maokais. That's why I was talking about the Poppy as well.
And that's why we've had a lot of hype for a player like Shaden, because when it was Robbie Bob and Mobility subbing in early on into the split, they were playing that different style compared to everybody else, where it was the Sejuanis, the Elises, the Maokais. He was playing things like the Viego and Graves so consistently, and the fact that that worked against what is standard convention is what impressed us so much about this player. And having that well-roundedness to be able to also finally just start picking up things like Poppy, Sejuani, and things like that just makes it that much better looking for him overall as a prospect.
And everyone, as we get ready for our first game in our series here, it's week 6. Make sure you're in the chat letting us know who you think is going to take game 1 between EGC and TLC. I hear the draft is ready, so why don't we dive into it? Instead of dipping away, I think I'm going to join you guys for this first game. How does that sound to you, Marcel?
Sounds good to me, my friend. I'm always happy to talk to you about the game. It is going to be interesting, though, because, again, I think a lot of priority in this draft is going to be determined in the first 3 bans and what we'll see in those first couple picks, obviously. The Elise ban by EGC, trying to take that away as a potential aggressive pick for Mir.
It's a pick he's definitely found a lot of success on, and I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of the standard stuff taken away this
the
series.
Maokai.
Yeah, like the Sejuani's out of the picture. I imagine Maokai is also up for being taken out of the picture, and just a lot of the usual standard stuff. So I think overall, this is a good opportunity to just kind of look at these teams, because what we talk about the Derby and how that race to getting to playoffs in a good seeding is so important here. We have these 2 teams who we had expectations for going towards the end of the split, but TLC, they have these opposite success rates, where TLC struggling a little bit lately. They haven't been really showing us the performances we expected from this roster. EGC, on the other hand, in the last 2 weeks, have actually looked really good now that Realm has settled.
Right, I was about to say, they've gotten what is essentially the roster that we should be used to going into playoffs, because we're not exactly sure if King's going to join in for playoffs still or not with the visa issues. But looking at the draft so far, we have 3 ADC bans, 3 jungle bans levied at both teams, leaving a few champions that we haven't seen too much of. Xayah starting to creep her way into the meta a bit more, but I'm surprised to see that as the first pick and not going for something a little bit more on the powerhouse that we've seen, like the Zeris, the Lulus, even Lucians that we've had as of late.
Magical Xayah is long past creeping. She is at the forefront of the meta as far as AD carries go at this point. Yeah. And that priority is so important for a player like Mobility, who overall, I've been very impressed with, especially these last couple of weeks. His first time at this level of play, and you're put into a very difficult situation. EG, once they realized how long it would take King to get here, brought him over. He's actually with them at the facility in LA, and he has been playing really well lately. Xayah's a big pick, a big comfort for him as well. I've seen him grind it out in Champs Queue, and this guy does some nuts things on it.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested. Obviously, the Rakan was going to come through, but now
like
we need to have that response here, at least in the jungle, I feel like, for this first phase, at least for EGC, when we have the Wukong for Mir, where you can be even that reactive jungler with it, but you can also take some aggressive paths with the clone. I want to see this kind of response from Shaden, where you get a little bit more emphasis for yourself while you still have a lot of facilitation tools as well.
This is also because Lulu being picked. We're expecting Zeri. Vi's a great pick into Zeri, so I see that. While I would have liked Poppy, I'm still going to advocate, because I think Shaden, one of his best facilitating.
It'll never die.
It won't die. I think he's really good on the Poppy. But with Zeri being open, it's just too obvious of a pick to go for Vi. Yeah. We're seeing this as kind of the standard right now between the ADCs and junglers.
Yeah, Cease and Desist is just such a good ultimate. Like, that point and click, that ability to lock down someone like Zeri is important. And it's a great duo when you pair it with something like the Rakan. Things like that grand entrance, the quickness. So overall, it's good. And at this point, we're getting into that second rotation. You got to imagine solo laners are going to be the ones going out of the picture. That's just kind of all that's really left to be playing for. And my eyes are mostly on Ryoma, because he's a player we've hyped up a lot, and I want to see what he's going to be picking, because now we're seeing Shaden go towards these facilitators. It's also in part because you have someone in the mid lane who you can reliably give resources to and can absolutely perform.
I just want to check.
Yeah, same here. I think that's a no ban there.
I think that's a no ban. Maybe they missed it. We do get the Gangplank ban on the other side, though, fearing Bradley's barrels. We do get the Fiora though ban, so a lot of that top lane focus at least, and it apparently is a no ban.
So I'm
Happens to the best
curious.
of us.
Yeah, I'm curious with the
Happens to the
Fiora ban,
best.
with Gangplank ban. Bradley has played Olaf. Kind of has been something that's crept up in the meta, with Sion also being something that's kind of been powerful. Meal being the next thing taken off the table. I'm curious to see if they decide to grab APA's mid lane here, something a little bit more safe, something like the Azir, if you want to have that, or if they just want to grab the Sion themselves. I mean, I don't necessarily like that, just because I like to see Bradley play something a little bit more fun.
We did get update. It is apparently an Ashe.
No, Ashe has already been banned. Ashe has already been banned.
Ashe.
Wait.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, that's why they
There you
banned
go.
the Camille. So
There you go.
Wow.
That's a good answer into the Sion, I feel like, here as well, and especially Bradley's Sion.
Can I just say something quick with Soul too? So,
Yeah.
Concept and Soul are very close friends. In fact, Soul, when I talked to him before last year when he was Anime Girl, used to watch a lot of Concept streams and said how he learned a lot from Concept. And Concept used to play a lot of Garen. Garen Tryndamere used to be like his champions that he would play a lot. And Soul even said that there's champions like those that he learned how to play from Concept and how he learned how to play the style. So seeing that he is taking that Garen, something Moose Haters has made himself known for this year, and Concept previously, wow, this draft, I'm just gonna let you guys talk about it.
I mean, this is we got a lot of spice coming up here. Like you talked
we
about
do.
the Garen coming through here is obviously because of Moose Hater has been rising in priority here in the Challengers League, and we got APA Ziggs, a big reason
do.
why TLC got that incredible win against, I believe it was TSM Challengers. I mean, if you all know the clip
Backdoor
at this
without
point,
minions.
it was not a backdoor Magical. I'm literally going to fight you on that. But the point is,
No
not a
minions! Come on, there are no
backdoor.
minions!
That was not a
everybody, it
backdoor.
was an ace. It
That was
doesn't
a
matter.
full
We're not
frontal
talking
assault.
about this anymore. Thank you, man. Thank you, Lennon. And
I'm
the
not
point
saying
is here.
what?
No,
Are we
we're
about to
good.
go,
We're
man?
good. We're good.
Excuse
Everything's
me?
good. Nah,
Are we good? Are we good? All right.
good,
All right.
bro.
I think
Don't
we're
worry.
good. I think we're good.
All right,
But
well, wait,
anyways, I do.
Before Lennon, you say anything, I'm gonna just let you guys take it from here because it's fun. It was fun joining you guys for the Champion Select, but I feel like you guys should get into the game, have fun.
gotta
I'll
work
see you
some
guys
stuff out.
afterwards.
All right. Let's see you, Magic.
Oh, he's gone.
So we do want to talk a little bit about this draft here because I think
Yes.
we get that jungle matchup we wanted to see, but we also get the spice from the lanes. And we were talking about the full frontal assault that TLC did to win last time around with that Ziggs. This time with the Sion, I feel like they even have a deadlier kind of backdoor style here. And I'd be really interested to see how Mir approaches the early game against this Garen / Talia. Once you get to that level 6, Shaden is going to be in a gank squad, it feels like.
Yeah, it's a pretty good way to put it. It's really important for Mir to impact this bottom lane matchup. It's so much of what he's been doing so far this split for Team Liquid Challengers. I really like the creative pathing I've seen from this player to just basically defy these expectations so that you can show up at times where enemy laners aren't expecting it. And that is how Arrow and Kim Down have been able to get some of these leads in the early game. And I'm expecting either a top start for Mir so he can have that influence, or is just gonna full clear bottom side and then show up bottom as he loves to do so much.
I would wonder if we get any of those resources down towards bottom lane. I expect for TL at least there will be, where you're looking at Bradley kind of be on that island. And speaking of island, EGC are on their own island in terms of fans in the chat voting for them.
I know.
75% for Team Liquid Honda Challengers. Make sure you're spamming chat if you're some EGC fans. But we'll see TL actually playing a little bit aggressive here in the starting. Was going to see if they actually place down any wards here, but it doesn't look like that'll be the case.
Nope. Good defense from EGC to just deny that opportunity to get an idea of where Shaden is going to be starting, because that early information is so crucial for these teams. And now we do have the Raptor start for both junglers, but the information just isn't quite there at the moment. And you see that with these opposite side starts, it is going to be Shaden moving towards that top side and Mir pathing towards bot.
It's so interesting as well. Obviously, I know you talked a little bit about Mir, but now Shaden, finding a new home, finding a home under an organization that has had success in promotions. And as a player that coming off a team last year that was pretty successful in its own right, it's been really cool to see him kind of get his own step up in another year.
Soul has said the same thing, comparing his time on Evil Geniuses compared with TSM, just saying how much he enjoys the fact that how big Evil Genius is on player development. They have so much resources. He even said on Raising NA how they're so... The breadth of their coaching staff is so helpful to them. If one can't tell them something, they can go to another, and they can always find out basically anything they really need to know to continue working on themselves.
It's been really cool to see again, kind of that cohesion built over time, and now obviously with the roster as intended for the most part, feels good to kind of get that realigning. But speaking of, realigning, gotta make sure you're in contention here for those seeding as we are getting to the last couple weeks here. It is always important. So those pop-up performances we saw earlier in the season from Shaden, need some more of those.
Right, and TLC, of course, at 13-7, have a pretty solid record for a strong start for this team. It's these last 2 weeks where things have started to look a little down on them. I think Bradley has had some rough matchups in particular these last few weeks. And now this is that chance for TLC. I mean, you're still in a good position overall. You are still going to make playoffs, but it is about getting that best seed that you can and continuing to work on your game so that you get to the point you want to be in playoffs.
I think that's where you're seeing some of that style bending here for TLC. You're getting some different looks, especially when we're getting Sion for Bradley this time around. We have seen him trend towards carry top laners as well, but now we're trending towards bottom lane as Mir will finally see Shaden. Actually, I don't know if he did around that corner. Arrow able to get the quick moves. The gunslinger himself there getting the award. We'll see Shaden there. So both junglers hovering around that bot side.
And that's really important for Shaden because you have the Ziggs. APA has these opportunities to get that wave shove, move out of lane. You can see it on the minimap. He's always looking for these angles and to sync up with Mir to help get Arrow and Kim down ahead in this early game. And for a champ like Zeri Lulu, where you're really waiting to get online, any early gold you can get for yourself is super impactful.
Well, I will just say Arrow is already warmed up. Feels like able to dodge out of a nice little combo from Smoothie and Mobility. But one big thing that on the side of TLC we were talking about, and especially when looking at Mir, was his pathing here early on and kind of that facilitation of resources. Well, seeing him take a back seat and farm up a little bit more, Shaden trying to set up his bottom lane.
Right, and that vision will allow Arrow and Kim down, the one placed earlier, to avoid this gank. And that's pretty important too, because Shaden is looking for these same opportunities bot side. Being able to avoid that, super important here for TL, or for rather Arrow and TL in general. It's been slow so far, but Mir, he sees the angle.
Oh, it's in trouble. That's a flash and a return gank soon, I'm sure.
Right, it's just continuing that pressure in the mid lane. It's worth noting too, Ryoma has Ghost in this lane instead of Teleport. Really good for team fighting and things like that, but you don't have that advantage to move cross map instantly. Being Talia though, it's not that important, and because he's first strike, he can't switch out those summoner spells. And Ryoma, we talk about APA getting out of lane. Ryoma's going to be doing the same thing ideally. Once that level 6 comes through, using that Weaver's Wall to get across the map and make those plays as well. And that's the Ghost.
So fast.
Yeah,
it's going so fast. You get the wall riding. Ryoma's going speed. Look at him. Look at him.
Yeah,
he doesn't have the Ghost anymore, but
I mean, you got to do these things, like especially losing your flash and being under that threat of a dive like you did. That was really the only option you had, especially because you're not probably going to be able to fight for this dragon. You just use the Ghost to collect as much minions as you can so you don't fall behind.
Like this pathing from TL though. Shaden is down here. If he gets himself into the pit, all right. Shaden's saying, let's go 50-50, boys. He's going in on the Arrow now, and now Ryoma has come in with the Weaver's Wall. There's Mega Inferno Bomb and EG. They're starting to head for the hills. A little bit of a save from Smoothie, though. That's a big re-entrance, but it's not enough. Arrow is going to get a double kill. And first blood for TL. Mobility, he's trying to gun him down, and the Blade Caller will get the return kill for EG. Kim Down wants to chase it. That's a flash. He can't get it, though. Smoothie able to heal up a little bit more. Dragon went over to TL, and it's a 2-for-1 fight.
Nice for Mobility to be able to take something back, but Team Liquid, they get everything they want from that play. Not only the dragon, but a double kill for the Zeri, who is trying to scale. And looking at this play again, Shaden and Ryoma, honestly, this was pretty good from them. I like that they're willing to go for this, and you see how they're trying to thread the needle here. Get on top of Arrow, take him out of the picture so that Mir isn't able to impact. But exactly, you have that ultimate from APA here, and despite Smoothie's best efforts, Arrow and Mir played this fight too well, and now this Zeri is 2-0.
I will give a shout out to Shaden. He truly embodied the Vi cosplay where, you know, in arcades, like smacks those gauntlets together. It's like, we fighting. He's just like, we 50-50, and ended up getting at least a kill back for mobility. Right. So you'll write home about that a little bit. Now, Ryoma will be able to clear out some of the vision. Still, though, early game plan for TLC working out. They are late game centered, right? They're waiting on Mir to kind of have this reactive play or maybe even proactive in terms of stacking, and it's working out so far. And looking over at EG, they do still have some scaling in their own right, but I'm looking at Shaden to still get some of those resources early.
Right, and mobility also has his fair share of scaling on the Xayah as well. We'll be able to output a lot of damage later on, but giving that lead to Zeri is very dangerous. Arrow definitely has a lot of success on this champion, so this lead, even though it's a one-kill lead since mobility gets one back, could be the start of something here, especially because you're usually not expecting to go for objective fights with the Zeri Lulu, because you're waiting until she's actually able to have more stats to be able to team fight. That 2-item mark is one we talk about a lot. Arrow already is getting closer to that point.
We're getting a movement up here for the Rift Herald fight, as should be just that ADC island developing out there. And I do wonder, now that we obviously get a little vision game for EG, that you're looking at TL to maybe turn around on this if EG decide to go a little bit ham on it.
And now Shaden is level 6, so EGC's team fight has come online with that cease and desist. So Shaden does have this opportunity to go at it again. But with that sweeper, he knows there's a ward there. Mir knows this is happening too. And everybody knows what everybody's doing. It's just a question of whether or not TLC actually want to make that play to stop this.
They're going to TP APA back. He has the Mega Inferno Bomb. And it looks like Mir is actually going to move in here a little bit as last second unstoppable onslaught. Nice re-engage from Smoothie. The cease and desist here locking him up, but the Mega Inferno Bomb again just does so much damage. The execution is not what comes through, but Soul still gets that trade kill, flashing out as well.
So it is 1-for-1, but Evil Geniuses walk away with the Rift Herald, and Mobility chose to stay away from this fight. This is something they often do, having him collect those turret plates while Rift Herald is being contested on the other side. So that's honestly, at the very least, even if not good for Evil Geniuses, especially if they're going to be able to make use of the Rift Herald. And the big thing to look for here is, remember, APA TP to this. And between that and the Unstoppable Onslaught, you have a lot of team fight potential coming through here. And the fact is, you had your AD carry come to the rescue while Mobility was on the other side of the map. So it was really, the hope was to get in and out with the Rift Herald for EG.
They see, actually, after this, that Arrow stayed in topside, tried to crash that wave. He did just back, and I do like that heads-up play from TLC. I think that is something important, where you still see them with about 1,000 lead, but could have been a little bit worse with Mobility getting some of that. Now, we did see Mobility actually go towards top, so there's some shakeups, I feel like, on the Rift right now, and we'll see a little bit of wonkiness.
That switch up means... Okay, he's fine. That switch up means that you want to be able to clear this wave before someone can answer Mobility on the top side, and have that opportunity for Shaden to drop the Rift Herald and get those plays from the top side of the map. The thing is, TLC know this. They're moving up top as well. We got another skirmish on our hands almost certainly.
Soul starting to stack up on this Garen, but so is Mr. Chadley on the Scion. And, you know, it's a little bit later, but last night I actually got to cast a lane swap as well in the LPL. It was a similar composition like this for TL, but I like to see that there is a response from EG. They are very much heads up in trying to counter this.
And at this point, if Evil Geniuses want to get more than the 2 turret plates guaranteed from the Herald, it will be a dive. That is dangerous. You look at Arrow and Kim down, they have all their summoners, all their ultimates, all their key abilities are up. So this is a difficult thing for them to work out, but they're just going to back up and wait for Mir.
Ryoma is able to come join, yeah. I think the Herald drop is an obvious sign. A lot of resources trying to be delved into Mobility. should be those 2 more plates going over, just about. And I think that now you should see a retreat from EG. They actually are moving more members away towards mid lane, but TL, they're moving to fill in that gap here.
I want to take a look at the gold, particularly between the 80 carries of these teams, because even though Arrow was up a kill, I can't imagine the gap is that big because of the plates that Mobility has been able to get. And it's really important because, I mean, you see the recall coming through from both these carries. Mythic's online, but you actually have extra stats there for Mobility with the double longsword, with the dagger as well, meaning that this Xayah is still in a really good position to be able to team fight here. And another thing we didn't really touch on during the draft, because we got a lot of spice in this one, Lennon, is the fact that Soul is here on this Garen, meaning that if someone does not mark and take care of him, it is very possible with that Ghost that he'll be able to just run down Arrow or APA.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the horror stories, the moose in the night, but we also seen a lot of other players across the league actually pick it up as well and do some terrible things. But I do see that TL using some of this priority, a lot of the vision around the Dragon Pit, take their second dragon of the game. There is no other real response right now for EG across the other side of the map. They'll just be trying to kind of delve out some of these resources.
And we're seeing the lane assignment switch up a little bit by EG, even though we're not really out of that laning phase yet. It's just keeping things nice and slow, where Mir and Arrow, they
I think Soul feels his spider senses tingling.
Oh my god!
5 members down bottom lane. Soul, run! You gotta run! Oh, there's a train coming! The flying train is back! Beat down! I'm scared! And the Soul goes down. There will be a tower traded for EG on the other side of the map.
The tough thing with that is something like that needed to happen, Lennon, because this... Oh, hold on.
Oh, APA is a little bit caught there. Does use that satchel charge. Smoothie trying to get the combo, but he doesn't. The APA flash is huge. APA should still go down. TL want to capitalize. They're TPing Bradley back in, and Bradley's a big old boy trying to get an engage here maybe, but doesn't have that unstoppable onslaught. Just has his flash.
Yeah, the TP is to prevent something else from happening, something to dissuade further plays there from EGC. Now he's just going to be walking towards that top side, answer the big wave that Ryoma has thrown over there. And overall, EGC continuing to be proactive in their own right as well. Using their damage, they get on top of someone like APA. And the thing is, too, trying to take down somebody like Soul is important because you don't want this Garen to have that free laning phase, that free time in the side lane to be able to farm it out. But as TLC, you have to be careful what you give up in the process. Turret gold to someone like Ryoma, Mobility is a lot of gold you want to be sure is worth tossing when you commit 5 people to a play like that.
Yeah, they're just trying to get as much as they can where they can. Love to see APA doing his job, taking out the towers one by one.
Just zigs things.
Just zigs things. But again, I think I do want to go back to, yes, we're only 15 minutes in, but TL are perfectly fine with this game state. I mean, they've stacked up 2 dragons at this point. They are in a seat where they have a lot of that team fight potential later on. And I think while EG have the same, we got to look in the mid lane. There's some damage going on to Mobility. Ooh. Does not have the ulti there. And luckily, there's no burn coming after that one.
Yeah, very happy APA went for Ludens for that play there. But that kind of damage, that move from APA means you will secure the Rift Herald as Team Liquid Challengers. Now they can get some more turrets up on their side of the map, pick up that extra gold as Soul. Hey, buddy, you're just here to watch. We all know it. They know it. You know it. It's okay.
Isn't that like the Commando Garen skin? I think he has binoculars, maybe?
I think so, yeah.
We just see the Rift Herald used immediately in mid lane. They should be able to take this tower up before it spawns. Won't really utilize it to walk down. They're actually going to try to collapse on Ryoma here, but might be able to find Shaden in the meantime. It's a little bit of a collapse from EG now, though. They want to take it back. The Weaver's Wall, beautifully done. Ryoma, he might be able to set up a big combo, but Mir flashing out of it. Here comes the cease and desist on the Arrow. There's that combo you said, but here comes that dang train again, and it gets a darn trouble knockup. And now TL, they're jumping off the train. They're saying, we're the gunslingers today. Bradley, he picks up another Chad kill, and Arrow is going for the lightning shots into EG. Another tower falls thanks to the satchel charge of APA, and it's a darn heist here.
And they're just going to keep taking from EGC side. TLC now have exposed that middle inhibitor. And again, a great engage from Bradley on the Scion. It has just been incredible from him this game to set up TLC for all these engages they want to go for. You're expecting EGC to have good all-in as well, considering their jungle support combo, but we'll see it again in the replay. The fact that Bradley is on the other side of the map and joins this is already insane, and you can see the setup from Evil Geniuses. Ryoma comes through, puts in a lot of damage, but TL, they walk away, they buy time, and Arrow even manages to buy time, taking Shaden away from the rest of the team. And at this point, fight was over for Evil Geniuses. There's really nothing else left to say, especially with Ryoma getting hit by that ult.
Yeah, Mobility using that Feather or the Feather Storm at least, and trying to get that second knockup down. Maybe getting knocked out that first time set up everything for TL. And then you see immediately APA's eyes go straight to the tower. They knock down all of them and have an exposed inhib now on EG's side. So there is a dragon coming up in about 30 seconds. Maybe EG trying to stop a little bit of stacking here from TL.
It'll be tough, because that play earned TLC thousands of gold into their pockets. And although Arrow isn't quite at that 2-item mark you hope for as the Zeri, or having a Zeri on your team, the lead that TLC have overall and the ability to team fight they've shown us so far means that they have control over this Dragon Pit. Look at the pressure here, ensuring that they have this mid push and ensuring that no one can actually walk into the river from this top part here. Look at Kim down. Wait, Kim down. Well, it's a little risky.
All right, Soul have to get a little bit of damage down, but nice setup from EGs. They will spot out TL moving in. They might have just duped themselves, though. Got a little bit of a flank mirror coming over the wall. The dragon should reset. Bradley's now going for an engage. The crown has been popped. Soul has a backline access. Arrow able to get away from majority of the fight, though. This is very split. Nice targeting from EG, though. They get one. It's traded back, though, as Ryoma in some trouble on the side here. Needs to be very, very careful, but he's just dead as Arrow gets himself another kill. And now Arrow's going over the wall. Bradley was trying to set up another shot there, but can't do it. And that'll be a 2-for-1 trade in favor of TL.
And another dragon, their sole point now in their back pockets as well. The move speed they get if they secure this Cloud Soul when ulting is just going to make team fighting even more easier for this team. And this game has just been TLC ever since that mid lane fight. They have the gold, and even though Evil Geniuses are trying to make these plays happen, it's very difficult for them to team fight because you have this Rakan who, yes, good engage, but is also very squishy compared to something like Scion. Bradley is such a nuisance in these team fights. Look at them attack him. Look at his health bar. There, he's running at whoever he pleases. He doesn't even care that he's receiving damage, and he's just such a big problem. Even though Mir is taken out of the picture,
it's a hotfix beatdown. I don't know if you got the memo. It's the 2 chains buff. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, bro.
Yeah. Like, it is just unreal. Evil Geniuses, they throw everything they can to take somebody down. And someone like APA and Arrow are never touched in these team fights. And until you can get them out of the picture, you'll never win a fight.
And for anybody that doesn't know, Bradley is the owner of 2 wonderful medallions from winning Proving Grounds twice in a row last year. No, slight flex. Now on the Scion duty is integral as ever to TLC as the lone standing veteran from those memorable moments. We'll see Bradley actually tanking up a lot of damage here as a setup for EGs to get some vision around the Baron pit.
I think attempt is the right word there, Lennon, because every little bit they place down, TLC immediately take it out of the picture. And TLC are strong enough that they can look for a fight, they can start for Baron, they can do whatever they want. Look at Bradley!
Ultra Shock Laser, Mega Inferno Bomb onto Ryoma. He is in a little bit of trouble, about half health now. We're getting a little old-fashioned Nayram in mid lane here as TL trying to capitalize on this bit of a gold lead they have.
Right, and it's that focus to set themselves up for a Baron. You can see the pings coming through here. EG are expecting it. TL can set up for it. And as soon as this wave is pushed in... Oh, wait, TL, they actually won the fight.
Oh, Ultra Shock. They get a knock up. Nice. Smoothie, very, very low. Shaden just going back in. He said he wants the fisticuffs. As now the Weaver's Wall's coming across. They do cut the team in half. Soul's on the back line. They have split off. Kim Down's already down. Now double knockup for Smoothie. He goes golden. You got a little bit of a train action going on for Bradley, though. And they are focusing the back line here. Soul is on the precipice, but nice flash from Shaden. They get the execution down. It's traded immediately back, though. APA still able to do a lot of damage here as Mir does find a way out of the fight. Bradley They just said he's a zombie. We'll leave him alone. He's just holding on to the backside here. Now Soul will find him out. Maybe Bradley can find something. The Mega Inferno Bomb trying to split it off. This Cloud Rift going to help Bradley get away.
Wow. That is a positive fight for EGC. Probably the first one we've seen so far this game. Actually, got a little bit of... Oh, I mean, Soul is playing Garen. You know, that passive is very cool. Just recovers a lot of health, so he's just going to go back and farm. Overall, that was as good a fight as we've seen from EGC, and it's from the overextension of people like Bradley and Kim down. Because realistically, stat-wise and everything, walking up like this is fine, but you have to consider the Talia, and you see the separation of that fight here where Soul is being annoying, dragging 3 members to one side, and Bradley cannot protect Kim down, so he ends up falling in the process. And all that really matters from this is that Bradley walks away, he's no longer the front line, and it means the rest of EG can start to pressure. And what did I say, Lennon? Arrow and APA, if you can take them down, these fights are yours. And they got him. They got one at least. Yeah.
They got one. They got one. And I think that is, again, the target selection so crucial for EG because they do have those pick out tools and they do have some of that late game scaling damage we were talking about. Now, Soul will take an objective bounty for them in the side lane. Still getting a lot of presence from TL on the top side of the map. And Bradley is just walking at people now. Yeah. And he's actually trying to walk behind Ryoma here. Does get a decent amount of damage. The at least setup for damage as the crown has been taken off, but Bradley is now getting a lot of it turned on. It was all a bait, though. Mobility's on the side. Maybe mobility can make the difference, but that Mega Inferno Bomb split Ryoma's health in half. Now Arrow is trying to gut him, but the Feather Storm does save mobility. We have Soul coming in. He wants kills. He can't get him. He has to back away. Kill goes back, though. APA gets one. Ryoma falls. Smoothie falls. It's a 2 for 0.
Impeccable bait from TLC, and it's going to net them more turrets, more gold, and now they're going to be able to happily set up for the Dragon. Their Soul coming up in 30 seconds time. TLC have all they need to close this game out, Lennon.
And it feels like either EG are on the precipice of Valhalla or I don't know what, because every time they just have to fight. There is a Soul coming up. Yes, it is a Cloud Soul, but I feel like you're giving this already in the lead TLC a Cloud Soul to run around the Rift on. You're going to have to give them a little bit of fight here.
And we saw the bait coming through from Bradley. Evil Geniuses fall for line and sinker. You look at the members of TL in the jungle waiting for the key ultimates to come through. That's cease and desist from Shaden. And as soon as that's out, oh, it's fighting time, baby. They know what time it is. And you can see what it's earned them in the picture-in-picture. This Dragon Soul. Evil Geniuses, they want to say something about it. And this is going to be one of their last chances to have a say in this game.
They are not going to let it go out without a fight. Shaden has been in these moments before. He has come up huge for EG. They get the Weaver's Wall across the map. We do get the reset of the Dragon. Mir is on the back end. Wants to find a flank. Smoothie will spot him out. Soul's on the other side. We're getting a nice little crescent move from EG here, but they have to find pressure, and TL are sitting pretty in this moment. They're just hanging out until EG overstep.
And I love this from Bradley. Soul can't do anything with Bradley watching him the way that he is. He's been so big in this game to prevent that from happening.
They're getting impatient. Beat down. They're getting impatient. Some of the poking is coming down. Arrow's just taking up the Dragon. EG are starting to press in a little bit. Smoothie wants to find this flank. But here comes the trade. Goes through the Feather Storm, though. Nicely done, as Shaden's already down, so there's no jungle contest from EG. They immediately realized that. They left mobility out. And they're wondering where their little kid is gone, as now another Dragon goes to TLC. And that's complete dominion over this game.
A big buff for Team Liquid Challengers and an incredible performance so far in Game 1. Everything we said about the struggles they've had these last couple of weeks, well, they clearly did not appreciate that, Lennon, because this has been an incredible game so far.
Oh my God! Chadley Bradley with the solo kill of Ryoma as the game comes to an end and the towers start to crumble for EG. It's a TLC step up that we needed to see, and we get what was promised.
And that was a clean-looking TLC, Lennon. And that is, honestly, pretty easy first game win for Team Liquid Challengers. Seems like they had EG's number from start to finish there, had an exact idea of how to play against that composition, especially that Garen, and they just limited everything EGC could do.
They did indeed, but that is it for our first game. We're going to send it away to a little break. We'll have a halftime bit with Magical right after this.